Coming up on In-Flight Snack, the Patriots beat the Jets for the 15th consecutive time, and it boils down to one position, and it's starting to break apart the team. Bilal and I were joined by a special guest, Joe Benigno, to talk about the Jets' 15th consecutive loss. He's seen every Jets loss to the Patriots for the last 55 years, so he was able to talk about all of it. We talked about some history. We talked about Joe Namath, all the different things. Jet football. He has a great relationship with the head coach also, so we talked about maybe some messages he can be sending to the head coach because it seems like it's time to make a change at the quarterback position. All that and a whole lot more coming up on In-Flight Snack. Stay tuned.
Let's go empty. Shotgun Fitzpatrick. Underneath. Powell catching current. Powell stays on his feet. He's gone. Touchdown. Jets. Bilal Powell.
Then in Indianapolis, the offensive coordinator, you got a busted play here, and then Sanchez gets hit. The ball is loose, and it's alive.
I have never seen this before in my life. Mark Sanchez not expecting it, and it was the backside of Brandon Moore that knocked the ball out.
First down. Zach Wilson, play action, drops the throw, fires one over the middle, and it's caught. Breaking free, Garrett Wilson, left sideline to the 40, right down the middle of the field, down to the 30, 20, 10, 5, that's a Jet touchdown! Garrett Wilson strikes!
Let's make sure we play like the New York Jets. Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Welcome back to In-Flight Snack, a New York Jets podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. That's Bilal Powell. I'm Rami, Lavi. Today is Tuesday, September 26th, and the season is over. We're 3 games in, and it's over because this team is not willing to make a change at the most important position. They're stubborn. I don't know why. God knows why with Robert Saleh, why they're so stubborn to stick with this kid, but they refuse to make a change. This kid continues to cost them games. The defense goes out there, gives up 13 points, and the offense can't do anything. Guys are running open all over the field all day on Sunday. You finally had the best performance of the season from the offensive line, and time again, the quarterback is killing this team, and that's been the story for the last 50 years. I cannot handle it anymore. Good morning, Bilal. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And like you said, it seems like the season is over. And I think a lot of people are wanting to just fast forward this season. But the thing is, all we got to do is replace one piece. And I think the whole entire season will be different. The defense is playing good. They're going to give up points. It's the National Football League. The offense has to come on. If they don't, I'm starting to think that the offense and defense are going to start to divide. And we do not want that because it's already ugly. And if that happens, it's just going to get uglier and uglier. And, by this time, I think fans are going to start, the fans that decide to come to the game are going to start coming with paper bags over their heads, man.
Yeah, and Sunday, I mean, it was impossible to sell my tickets. I couldn't sell, I could barely sell my tickets for Sunday. I couldn't make it. We obviously had a Jewish holiday Sunday night, so I couldn't make it to the game. And I'm trying to sell my tickets. Nobody wants to come see this team. And you're starting to see that divide in the locker room. You're starting to see the fighting on the sideline. And it's just, for me, it's heartbreaking to watch as a Jet fan. It's heartbreaking probably for you as a player. And we talked to someone, we have an interview coming up with a guy who's seen this for the last 55 years as a Jet fan, probably the voice of all Jet fans, the biggest Jet fan there is, in Joe Benigno. He was on the fan for 25 years talking Jets football. And you could hear him every Monday after a Jets win or loss. And you saw it, you heard him when we were talking to him. That's tough. Like it pains him.
It's just different for me because, playing, I didn't realize I didn't realize how painful it was to really watch as a fan. I'm a fan now. I'm a New York Jets fan. It just is what it is. And it's painful to be on this side. And I feel bad for the people that spend their hard-earned money to come pay for season tickets. And some people save up money to come to certain games. And you're just not getting the effort that you want. And And when we're talking about a bad team, we're not talking about an overall team. We're just talking about one unit, the offensive unit. Is it just not clicking at all, man?
And it boils down to one position.
One position, that could make the entire difference. That's to me is one of the most important positions on the field.
Yep, probably the most important.
It is probably the most important position on the field, and it hasn't been addressed yet. And now, we just blew an opportunity to be 2-0 in the division, and now we have a tough opponent coming up in Kansas City. We know how that we already know how that's going to be. All right, we got Taylor Swift coming in the building. I think more fans are going to be looking up, trying to find out which suite she's in, rather than looking at the football game. And I hate that it has to come to this early in the season, but man, I would hope that Joe and Robert will make a good decision in bringing in a veteran quarterback.
Yeah, and they have to figure it out. And by the way, PSA to anyone who wants to see Taylor Swift, I know what it costs to go see Taylor Swift at MetLife earlier this summer. It's going to be cheaper on Sunday to go see Taylor Swift at MetLife Stadium than it was a couple months ago when she performed there. So if you're looking to go see Taylor Swift at MetLife Stadium, Sunday's your opportunity. Oh, and by the way, you get to watch Travis Kelce. And then a couple weeks later, you'll have Kelce and Swift coming again to Madison Square Garden because you have Jason Kelce and DeAndre Swift, the running back, coming to play against the Jets with the Eagles, right? So it's not getting any better for the Jets. It's not getting any easier. And the time to make a change is now. You talked about the fans. A friend of mine, Rob Taub, who was on the podcast, friend of the show, he texted me. He went to the game on Sunday and he said, look, it's tough. Like, I don't expect them to win, but if they do, the euphoria I'll be feeling being in the building. So the hopefulness of the fan base, they're still so hopeful. You talk about it. It's 1-2. There's still plenty of time to go in the season. And I hate to be a downer and say that it's over, but if they don't make a change, it is over. The way they can salvage this is by making a change. What do you think it's going to take for this organization from the top down, whether Joe Benigno just talked with us about maybe Woody Johnson stepping in, or Joe Douglas, or Robert Saleh? What do you think it's going to take for someone in that group to make a change?
It's going to have to be a teammate. It's going to have to be a guy that cares. It's going to have to be a guy that is somewhat of a leader on this team, a guy that has been established on this team, a guy that cares about winning on this team. And maybe it's a few guys. Maybe it's a few guys that go to the coach and say, hey, coach, we need to do something because we're over here fighting. And there's only so much you can do on one side of the ball, right? And we know this is a 3-phase game. And right now, one phase of this game is the weakness. So I think there should be a unit of players, respectfully, to be able to say, man, we're working out every day. We're practicing every day to prepare to win on Sunday. And our only hope of having somewhat of doubt going in on Sunday is one position that needs to be filled, or it needs a change. It has to be a player. It's going to have to be players that go and say, hey, we need to do something. All right, we have cap money. We have plenty of cap space to go sign somebody to come help us win the game right now, like a veteran quarterback. And I think it's going to have to take a couple players on that team that are in a leadership role to go to the coach and say, hey, coach, I think it's time to make a change at that position, whether it be offensive, defensive players. It's going to have to take players. It's the players. Listen, I know it's Coach Saleh's team. I get it. But really, it's really truly about the players. So if the players really care, if they're really thinking about playoffs and they're thinking about winning, right? Because LaDainian Tomlinson, Hall of Famer, told me, hey, we need to win now. You used to see guys cry in the locker room. You need to win now because you can't worry about next year, because next year could be the same thing, or next year may never come. So they need to think about right now. We can't be thinking about Aaron Rodgers next year coming off of an injury. All right. We have to think about right now. What are we going to do right now? You know what I mean? Like, every game counts.
I have two things based on that. Number one, you were a player that played with, you played under 7 different offensive coordinators, 4 GMs, the whole thing, but you also played with a lot of different quarterbacks. At what point do you feel that a player in the locker room can actually go and request a change? Like, what's that dynamic like where a player can go say, hey, maybe we need this guy? Does that change? Are players afraid to do that? I know this is, and it's different this year because this is going back to last year where the players already clearly weren't on Zach's side. So this is now a year and a half of this. It's not just one season. So maybe that makes a difference. But what do you think, or who do you think rather, can go to have that conversation? It must be a difficult conversation to have.
I think you got Quentin Williams, C.J. Mosley, Jordan Whitehead, Sauce Gardner, guys that are contributing, guys that are well respected around the building, guys that have been consistent, guys that really care. I think those are the guys that can have those conversations, especially with the head man being a defensive guy. They can have those conversations. They can have that man-to-man, professional to professional conversation. And it's nothing personal. It's just like Zach Wilson's not ready. He is not ready. And I think right now you're starting to see the fan base get up. Listen, coach, I'm gonna tell you like this. This is one of the last fan bases you want to see start turning their backs, because they will. And it's cutthroat. They love you and then they can hate you, and it's bad. Listen, the hate is a lot worse than the love here. All right. I love that I have love in the city, but the hate is a lot worse here, man. And I just think that as a coach, right, at this professional level, and you're talking about a defensive guy, you're talking about a guy, I think a coach that you consider a player's coach, I think you could go to him and say, hey, coach, there needs to be a change. There needs to be a change. Like, there's nothing personal. Zach Wilson is just business. This is a business, and it's a winning business. And if you don't win, you have to go. You have to go. I know it's the third year, but it's time. We've seen enough.
Yeah, you're lucky enough you didn't get any hate from the fans. You talked about Aaron Rodgers and thinking about next year. What if Aaron looks at this and says, oh, this is a mess. I don't even want to be here next year. Like, that's a real scenario that why am I going through all this rehab, all this work just to come back if it's going to be such a mess out there, if it's going to be this circus?
Listen, I don't blame him. I mean, honestly, I don't blame him. You know, I've known a guy that, you know, I won't say his name, but he opted out his second year here in New York because he came here and his I mean, it just wasn't who he was. Like he saw his stats and his average go down. And he was saying, hey, look, this is not who I am. This is not the organization I want to be on. And he then went on to another organization and had a pretty good year. I've seen guys that they hated when they came here. Like you see guys that don't want to come to New York. It's like an insult to say, hey, I want to offer you a contract to come here. And I don't understand it. You know, who is it? You know, for so many years, like, who is it? That's what I always think. As a player, I've had 4 general managers, it didn't work. 7 offensive coordinators, it didn't work. 4 head coaches, it didn't work. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, who is it? Like, what is it about the green and white right now? That's the question. That's the root of the problem. Well, how can we get to the root of this problem? And right now, I think the root of the problem is the quarterback position. Like, I'm not saying we're great up front, but I think if you put a quarterback back there that knows how to manage a game, I think we can win some football games, honestly.
And it seems to have been that for the last 50 years. So we talked to the great Joe Benigno about that, about 50 years for him, 55 since they last won the Super Bowl. He's seen it all. We talked about it. We talked about this team. He also has a great relationship with the head coach. So we kind of talked about the coach's job being on the line a little bit. So all that and more. We'll take a quick break and then we'll come back with the interview with Joe Benigno. Stay tuned. Coming up in a second. Joining us now on In-Flight Snack is a very special guest. I would say he's the voice of New York Jets fans for the last 50 years. Happy birthday, by the way. What a birthday present the Jets gave you this week. Joe Benigno, thanks for doing this.
And let me tell you this too, Robbie, 770 no less. You think I could get like a better birthday present than another stick up the rear end from the Patriots? You know,
I mean, it seems to be the case every time. So let's start there. What's your biggest takeaway from this game? What was the biggest issue on Sunday?
Well, the quarterback. I mean, is there any? I mean, to me, is there any doubt about it? I mean, and right now, how they do not bring a veteran guy in here is just beyond me. I mean, it's almost like they're just going to punt the season with this kid, and go win 4 or 5 games and say, okay, well, next year Rodgers will be back. I mean, what are we doing? The kid's not good. I mean, he's in his 3rd year already. What do we need? How much more do I need to see? And they keep sticking. You heard Saleh yesterday. This is our quarterback. He's improving. The reason we lost Sunday wasn't because of him. I mean, come on. Really?
Yeah, I agree. Bilal?
Listen, it's time to move on from Zach Wilson. it's time to move on from Zach Wilson. I mean, he wasn't the only reason for that loss, but he was one of the biggest reasons for that loss. He was a big problem for that loss in the week before. So I think you move on from Zach Wilson. You know, Coach Solomon, listen, job is in jeopardy right now, honestly. Like, are you gonna, kick away the season, punt away the season, like Joe said, or are you gonna make a decision to go out and get a veteran quarterback that can help us win the remainder of the season, man?
Yeah. Hey, look, what worries me a little bit here is that they almost know they got a pass this year, okay? And they continue to try to justify this quarterback because he was the second pick in the draft. You look at what the 49ers have done with Trey Lance, okay? They picked this guy in the first round. They made a determination he's not any good, and they got rid of him. He's gone. I mean, come on. And that's one of the top organizations in football. That's why they're a contender every year, the 49ers, are one of the reasons. And I just don't get it with this guy. I don't get the fan base has had enough of him. I mean, we could go on and on and on. I mean, he's just not any good. He's just not any good.
So you're friends with the coach, Joe, right? You've created a relationship. Did he text you happy birthday yet?
No, but we were back and forth last night for about, believe it or not, an hour, texting back and forth about a bunch of different things. I want to say this too, and I don't know how you feel about this, guys, but the defense. I know they only gave up 13 points against the Patriots, but Mac Jones had all day to throw. There was no blitzing whatsoever. They kept going with this 4-man rush that wasn't getting there. And the other thing about the defense too that makes me quit. They're back to where they don't force any turnovers anymore. I mean, there was a couple plays where there was one play where Quinn Williams tipped the ball in the air and Michael Carter hit him in the hands. Can we catch the damn ball?
And
we saw it last week too with Sauce Gardner. He had a walk-in pick six if he holds on to the ball. And that's another issue. I mean, they got 4 turnovers against Buffalo, and they haven't had one since in the last 2 games.
Well, that was the story last year, right? They were able to turn the ball over against Buffalo, but not against anyone else. But back to the coach for a second. In your conversation with him, does he know that his job is on the line if he sticks with Zach Wilson? He's going to lose the room.
Yeah, I don't think he thinks that. I mean, I like I said, I think what they think. Look, I've said to him, I said, Coach, you're going to go down with this quarterback. Look, he's killing the fan base. I actually texted this exact words to him. He's killing the fan base, and he's going to kill you. Okay, he's going to kill you. But I get the impression, first of all, I don't think Saleh really wants to play Wilson. I get that. I think this is all on Douglas, that he's being force-fed this kid by Douglas. I really think that. But to me, Woody Johnson needs to step in, okay? Woody needs to step in and say, hey, look, we're not kicking this season away. We have to bring a veteran guy in here. And I think it's up to the owner now to take control of that if Douglas refuses to do anything,
What would Douglas's incentive be?
What's that?
What would Douglas's incentive be to play Zach?
The incentive is that he picked this guy with the second pick in the draft, and he's got to try to prove that he's good. I mean, what else could it be? What else could it be?
Well, go ahead.
Just going back to the defense, we all know that our defense is good, right? But when I looked at the game, when I saw that game, what I saw is how efficient the Patriots offense was. I'm not talking about the down the hill. Listen, they was getting 4 here, 4 there. They were putting themselves in manageable situations all game. They were going. They started at 2nd and 6, 3rd and 2, and then converting 3rd down. I mean, that was the situational football. Bill Belichick was like, listen, we know we don't have the guys on the outside to go downfield and make the big plays. So his game plan probably was to stay in front of the chains. And they were so efficient on the offensive side of the ball to the point where our defense is so good that they only gave up 13 points with the efficiency that the Patriots had on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm going to be honest, the only ugly thing about this team right now is just we don't have an offense. When you look at the way we're talking about the New York Jets right now, it's usually the overall team. It's like you're trying to scramble to say, okay, we're going to have to replace the whole team. Right now, it's just replacing the quarterback. And problem, I think, is solved. I think you go from winning, Joe, 4 games now to maybe 7 or 8 games, 9 games, maybe being able to sneak in the playoffs later in the season. But I think there's going to be a big decision by in the office, the front office, Joe Douglas. Rami and I talked about this last week, man. We talked about Joe Douglas. He's good at draft picks, but is he good in a situation like this? This is a new situation for Joe. This is a decision that he has to make. Like, I don't
don't know the guys personally in that building, but if they don't think that the job's on the line, they're fooling themselves, because my 9 years, I had 7 offensive coordinators, four general managers. All right. I mean, the list goes on. So if you don't ever think that you're on the hot seat in that profession, then you're fooling yourself. And I think right now they need to make a big decision for, at least a successful or trying to get into the playoffs for the rest of this year, man.
Yeah, no question. And let's be honest about this too, guys. The coach's record he's 12-25. I mean, let's that's it is. You are what your record says you are.
1-8 in his last 9.
Right. They ended last year with a 6-game losing streak. Like you said, they've lost 8 of the last 9 now.
Yep.
You're right, Bilal. You're right about that. And I'll tell you this too. Okay, if it doesn't work, I don't know how you feel, Bilal, but if this didn't work out with Saleh, I want Rex back. I got to tell you right now, give me Rex back. I'm good. Let me tell you right now, I'm watching the game Sunday as they continue to go with a 4-man rush. They're not getting at Jones at all. He didn't touch him in the game. Rex would have been sending the freaking house at him. Mm-hmm. You got these 2 corners. You got Sauce and Reed, man. You got a top tier 2 cornerbacks. Let's go. He would have been sending, 5-6 guys at him. Let's be real, right or wrong.
Especially where we matched up on defense. They didn't have a guy on the outside that could beat us big time. So why not send the house? Why?
Yeah.
They don't really truly have a number 1 receiver though. Devontae Parker, my boy, he played at Louisville. That's my boy. But I like Sauce Gardner over Devontae Parker. So why not match up on the outside, man to man, and send the house? Right? My coach once said, the defensive coach said, if you're going to run or pass, you better do it fast, because we're coming. And I can't say the rest, but we're coming. All right. Yep. At the end of the day, blitz the house, get Mac Jones to move off his point, and let's go. Right. Get the ball out of his hands fast. Force him to play in a hurry. That's it. Like, not back there, sit pat, go over his progression and dump it down for a 6-yard gain. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I think Bill Belichick did a good job of, they're not coming. Hey, don't just take what the defense gives you and manage the game. That's all Bill Belichick was doing. He knew how good that defense was. He was just saying, hey, Matt, don't make a mistake. Just take what they give you and let's keep going, man. So, it's just tough to watch, man, because the defense is playing so hard.
Yeah. No, it's very difficult to watch. And let's be honest about this game too, guys. The Patriots tried to hand the game to us. There was the penalties, even the officials. We were getting breaks from the officials in this game. Yep. We never get this. We never get it. Okay. They missed 2 field goals in the game. There was drop passes. That one pass to Stevenson early in the game on the outside. He had 50 yards ahead of him. He dropped the ball. I mean, this is not a good team, this Patriot team.
Michael Carter tackled the guy.
Right.
Yep. And it wasn't called a PI.
Yeah, right. Exactly right. And even that issue, I don't know what happened. I guess Mac Jones kicked a Sauce in the groin or whatever. I
they said there's going to be no suspension.
Some kind of flag there, and we didn't see it,
Yeah. Speaking of the defense, you talked about playing one-on-one on the outside. So Saleh said last week, he said that's not our style, or he said it's not his scheme. Maybe it's time to kind of change up your style. Don't you think?
Of course. Look, I told you, I texted him this about I'm yelling, I'm watching the game, and I'm watching, they're not getting near Jones, and I'm screaming. They're rushing 4 guys. They're not sending anybody else, okay? I texted him last night, and he said, we blitzed twice. This is what he told me. We blitzed twice, and we didn't get there, so they didn't even bother doing it again. What are you talking about? I mean, what do you mean? This great, and that's the other thing too, guys. All we heard about is great defensive line. You're rotating all these different guys on the defensive line. Well, they didn't get to him. What's going on with that? You know what I mean?
Where's Will McDonald?
Right, but where is he? That's all we heard. What a pass rushing demon this kid is. I think he played 10 snaps in the game, something like that.
And by the way, you saw the same stubbornness with playing Joe Tippmann. Joe Tippmann was the best offensive lineman on Sunday. When they finally put him in, it took an injury to get him in the game, though. It seems to be a stubbornness there. Do you think that's coming from the coach, or do you think, again, that's coming from Douglas?
No, I think it's the coach. I think once you get, look, as far as the personnel goes, I put that on Douglas. When you get down on the field and now you're playing the game, I mean, that's all on the head coach. And look how long it took him. Look, this offensive line is what it should have been from day one. Okay. Maybe if they had Becton at left tackle and ABT at right tackle to start the season like they did yesterday, Sunday, maybe Rodgers doesn't get hurt. Maybe not. Okay, so I think that's the one thing I like is I think they finally got the offensive line right. I do think that.
So they get the offensive line right, but behind the offensive line, you still need the quarterback. That's the biggest difference. Who do you think is an option that's even out there that they can go get at this point?
Look, I don't love any of the guys out there. I think the most viable option that's available, and I don't love him, but I think it's Carson Wentz. And I say that because he's only 29 years old. He's out of the league. He did have some success. Look, the 1 year he was probably the MVP in the league before he got hurt. The year Philly won the Super Bowl when Foles took over. He's only 29. You know, this guy wants to get back in the league. Okay, and
But they just declined the offer to come play here.
What's that?
Didn't he decline the offer to come play over here?
What I heard, Bilal. What I heard is that him and Matt Ryan actually reached out to the organization to come here. That's what I've heard.
Okay.
That's what I've heard. And I don't think, look, Wentz is 29. He wants to be back in the league. You bring a guy like that back in, he's got a chip on his shoulder now, right or wrong, you know? And
he's coming in this situation, he has really nothing to lose, right?
Nothing to lose. That's
nothing to
all
lose.
he can do. Right.
It's something different when you're relaxed and you have nothing to lose, man, honestly.
Yeah. But there's no pressure on him. That's 100% right. You know, next year, Rodgers is going to be the quarterback again. So, you know, I'm Carson Wentz, man. I'd run here if they asked him to come here, right or wrong.
Yeah. You said Rodgers is going to be the quarterback next year. Do you think there's a pressure there where they're maybe hesitant to go get someone because this is still Rodgers' team? They said he's going to be back in the facility in the next couple of weeks. Do you think that's part of the hesitation?
Well, I think it goes to this. I think here's the bottom line. I think if the team didn't win another game this year, that if Rodgers wanted Saleh back, Saleh's coming back.
That's true.
You know, I mean, I think that. I think it's Rodgers' call, which to me is ridiculous because you know what? This guy hasn't been. He played 4 plays for our team. It's not like this guy was, you know, he's been here a couple of years and now he got this injury, you know, where he has a lot of say in what's going on. I mean, but let's be real about it. He's done nothing. He's done nothing as a Jet, right or wrong.
We've seen that from day one, though. It seems like he's running the show from the second he showed up.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's his call on who the coach is, to be very honest. And that's not good because that means there's no pressure on these guys this year. None.
You asked before we started recording, you asked about Bilal's game on the week 15 or week 17 in 2015.
The final game of the year in 2015 in Buffalo. I still got hemorrhoids from the game, by the way.
Bilal, you have a little story on that. You want to share that?
Yeah, man, I'll share it. You know, obviously I came back from a high ankle sprain and we went on that run. And man, I honestly thought we were going to get in. Honestly, I did. And I think we were that team at that time late in the season and no one wanted to play, you know, especially those teams that were on the fence of making the team, making the playoffs, not making the playoffs. They just did not want to play us. And when I got hurt in that game and right before overtime, I was like, I can't believe this. I can't believe this. All right. And then when we pulled that game off, going into Buffalo, and we all knew Rex game plan. He knew they were out of the playoffs. He was like, and if I'm not getting in the playoffs and you guys just fired me, you're not getting in the playoffs. I'm sure he didn't probably sleep the night before or that whole week. He was game planning to knock us out of the playoffs. But when I went in that week, I talked to Todd Bowles and I told Coach, I said, hey, listen, I know I'm hurt, but I'm willing to shoot my ankle up and I'm willing to play. I'm willing to play. And he was just like, man, I don't think we need you this week. I think we'll get past the Buffalo Bills. Must I remind you, Chris Ivory was battling an injury too. So we went
he was. That's right.
With Stephen Ridley. We went in that game with Stephen Ridley being a starting running back at the time. And Chris Ivory was there to just relieve him because he was still hurt. He dressed. And Chris Ivory's first carry, he went 60 yards and they stopped giving him the ball. And I was sitting on the sideline. I couldn't do nothing, man. But, you know, I talked to Coach, and he thought that we could get past Buffalo. And I knew deep down, and let's be honest, Ryan Fitzpatrick is my boy. All right, I still keep up with Ryan. And we knew in Buffalo that late in the season, with the wind, it being cold, we knew Ryan Fitzpatrick couldn't cut through that. You had to win that game on the ground. Let's just be honest. And you just saw the game slip away. You know, just from the wind, taking his ball and just like doing it, you know, and you actually saw more Pittsburgh Steelers fans in the stands. I never seen so many terrible towels at a Buffalo Bills game in December than I did that week, man. And
when the Steelers weren't playing too,
Yeah, because if we lost, they got in. Because
yeah, right. No, I know.
It was insane. It was insane, man. I couldn't believe it because I knew if we got in the playoffs, man, and we still talk about it. Me and a couple other teammates, we talk about, man, if we would have just got in that playoffs, man, I think we could have ran the table, at least got past the wild card. You know what I mean? Or put some. Yeah. We would have put a lot of teams on their heels, man. Put it like that. The way we.
Hey, look, you guys were the hottest team in the league going into that Bill game. You guys won 5 in a row. You had that overtime win with Fitzpatrick hit Decker to beat the Patriots and the week before that to set it up for that game. And I'll tell you something else too. And I put this on Bowles. I really do. We watched Revis in that game get torched by Sammy Watkins. I mean, he was killing him the whole game. And the coach made no adjustment at all in that game with Revis. Revis wasn't the same guy at that point. He made no adjustment at all to try to double team Watkins, to do something different in that game. And that's another part of that game that made me crazy, guys.
I remember Revis just standing. He was lining up 10 yards off the line of scrimmage because he was scared to get beat in that game. And it felt like such a departure from past Revis. But you mentioned the coach. He was making an assumption. It was like, hey, we'll get in next week and Bilal will be healthy next week in the playoffs.
That's unbelievable.
Just assuming that you're going to make it. Insane.
Insane. And Bilal was through it. I'm telling you, Lanny, really, you were one of the most underrated guys. When you played, man, we were good. You were a major part of that offense, catching the ball out of the backfield, all the different things that you did, So just want to tell you that, bro. I have great respect for you, man. You were a good player. You really were.
Joe, you've seen 50 years of being a Jet fan. You mentioned Bilal is one of those players.
I've been a Jet fan since '65, so even more than that.
Oh,
yeah. Name its first year. That was my first year as a Jet.
So go ahead, Bilal. You want to ask about that?
Yeah, I had to ask. As a player, I've witnessed the 2015 season when we were winning. I came in when the New York Jets had just came off back-to-back AFC Championship games.
Right.
But then you had this drought of just like 5-win seasons, 6-win seasons.
Yeah.
How was it back when Joe Namath was a quarterback? Like, what was the energy like? Was it similar to the energy that we saw when Aaron Rodgers arrived in New York? Like, how was it? How do you compare the energy and the excitement of football with Joe Namath as your franchise quarterback and Aaron Rodgers coming in to possibly, help you win, and you talk about Super Bowl contending? How was it?
Well, Namath really changed everything. I mean, he basically he really forced the merger when you think about it. I mean, he came in, 1965, you still had the AFL and the NFL. They were like at war against each other. They were both drafting the same players. Remember, Namath got drafted by the Cardinals too in the NFL, right? And he winds up, signing at that time this unbelievable $400-something thousand contract with the Jets, right? This was like off the charts. 1965. This was, $400,000 a year was ridiculous in pro sports. So there was so much hype about him. It took a few years. I mean, the first couple of years they had losing seasons. The first year they actually had a losing season. 66, they were 500. They went 6-6-2. Remember, there was only 14 games back then. They finally had a winning season in the following year. They went 8-5-1. Should have made the playoffs. They were 7-2-1 at one point, and then Emerson Boozer got hurt, and that really kind of killed the season. Namath got his jaw broken by the Raiders the next to last week of the season. And then it all just kind of came together the following year, to win the Super Bowl. But, Namath was bigger than life. Bilal, to be honest with you, I mean, you couldn't be a bigger star than Namath was, and he transcended football. I mean, everybody knew who Joe, you didn't know anything about football. You knew who Joe Namath was. I mean, that's how big a star he was, at that point in time. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Kind of like Travis Kelce now that he's dating Taylor Swift. I don't know if you heard about that.
And we're going to have to see Taylor Swift at the Meadowlands Sunday night, with Kelce. She's going to be there.
Oh, 100%. Can you believe that we finally get a Sunday night game after all these years of waiting, and it's going to be freaking Zach Wilson? By the way,
get hammered.
Kansas City's only 9.5-point favorites. They should be favored by 2 touchdowns.
They got no shot in that game. I don't see how we ever. And the only shot I could possibly see is if the defense has this monster game where they turn over Mahomes. I mean, I don't see any other way they can win. I honestly don't.
That's what I said. I
No.
thought the only chance the Jets had of scoring a touchdown on Sunday was if the defense got a score,
Right.
like or special teams. Like it looked like
Right.
Gibson could have broken a couple. Like that kid has been fantastic.
I like Gibson. Yeah.
Just
Why
leave
don't
the
they- let me
defense
ask you
out there
this
all
too.
game, right?
What's that, Bilal?
Let's just leave the defense out there all game.
Right.
And let's hope
Right.
that we can get a strip fumble for a touchdown, an interception for a touchdown. If these guys can catch the ball, you have to make those plays. Michael Carter.
You have to.
You have to make those plays, man. You have to make those plays.
No question about it. That's the mark of a great defense. You know, to me, it comes down to this: hitting the quarterback and taking the ball away. And you know, they certainly didn't do that the last two games. I mean, there's no doubt about it. You know.
Yeah, giving up 12 points is nice, or 13 points is nice. But again, yeah, if you're not doing those two things, especially when you essentially are out there the whole game, Bilal, right? You said keep them out there all game. You're going 3 and out on the offensive side. You're basically out there the whole game.
Yeah, let me ask you this too, Bilal. Bilal, let me ask you. This is another thing that makes me nuts with Wilson. Okay, so the kid's got a big arm, right? Why do we see nothing deep down the field? I mean, we got Garrett Wilson out there. Okay, you could even put Gibson there, wide receiver, with his speed. Okay, how about we don't see any deep shots down the field? I mean, right? I mean, come on, why not?
Because there's no run game. There's no run game. I know Brees had that big game coming back,
right?
But there's no run game.
No,
you have to have a run game to open up the deep ball. I mean, or else the corner safeties are just going to sit back. You have to force those guys to come up. You have to be efficient in the run game to play action. The linebackers give us the throwing lane. And Joe, Rami, and I talked about this once again. We go get a kid. I should say a kid. We go get a guy like McCall Hardman.
He's not even playing. Right.
He's not even playing. And we saw how Andy Reid used him in Kansas City. The dude can run, all right? The dude can really run. He's a guy. Why not put him on the outside? Put Garrett Wilson in the inside. Do some kind of dagger where he runs a goal, clear it out for Garrett Wilson. Like that's how I'm thinking. But then you can't throw a deep ball if the O-line doesn't keep you protected. So as a coordinator, if I know my troubles is the offensive line, I'm not even thinking about the deep ball, the go ball. I'm thinking about trying to get the ball out of Zach's hands. Okay.
I will say,
go ahead.
I will say there were a couple plays, and people were posting this online, film breakdown, where you saw Garrett Wilson open down the field, and Zach is so nervous that he's looking for the short hitches. He's looking for the check down before he even takes a look. It's 3-step drop and throw to the check down. And he's not even looking. And that happened a few times where he's throwing checkdowns when there's a guy running wide open down the sideline. And Garrett Wilson, I saw a few people posted that online. So I think the throws are there. I think it comes back to the quarterback.
Well, look at
no doubt about it.
There was a 3rd and 6, and Garrett Wilson ran a 4-yard route and got tackled. I'm like, at some point in time, we have to have football IQ. If it's a 3rd and 6, why am I running routes shorter than the sticks?
The 4th and 10 at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Why are we doing that? That's just an IQ thing, man. That's just, it almost makes you really question. Like, Zach Wilson is not the guy. I don't think he has the football understanding of here. I think he's relying so much of the coach putting him in the best situation, where we all know where franchise quarterbacks, they're the 12th, they really the extra coach on the football field. When I was with Ryan Fitzpatrick, he checked out an entire play because he saw something.
Right.
He said, because sometimes when you line up out there, Joe, they have us. You can look at a play before it happens and say, they got us. Let me get to my best check, my best audible. And if Zach doesn't have that, where you saw one time he made a check and it looked like it was the wrong check.
Yep. This was the only audible he made.
I know the one you mean, and I think he handed it off to
the run to the right side. Yep.
Yep.
Tony Romo was right on it.
That's just the football IQ of, like, let's be honest. These guys on the other side are professionals. Those coaches are professionals. They do film study. So now if they got our hand, we just got to get to our best check. Like, we have to have that quarterback that can take that charge. And I don't think Zach Wilson is that guy that can take that charge. And understanding me being the leader and the commander of this offense, I need to be able to audible and check and put my team in the best position, even if it's just managing the play.
Right.
And something so interesting, you talked about Joe Namath.
By the way, no run. Why are there no designed runs for this kid either? This kid's got some speed. And he's better getting out of the pocket than in the pocket Why we see all these guys run? Daniel Jones, Josh Allen, Lamar runs. We go right on down the line. That these guys can run with the football. Why are we not seeing this with him? I don't get it.
One of the best plays of the day, one of the best throws he had was on a bootleg to the left side, and he throws it over. Right. And they move the pocket. He's on the move. Yep. He's better at throwing on the run than he is at throwing in the pocket.
No question about it. No doubt about it. Yeah. I don't get it.
Joe Namath was on yesterday on ESPN. He talked about Zach Wilson. Did you see some of the comments that Joe Namath said? He said,
I did.
It's disgusting. He
wants everybody out. He wants everybody out. He wants to get rid of Saleh. He wants to get rid of Douglas. He wants everybody out. I get it. I understand.
In the last, since Joe Namath retired, have you heard him talk about a team like this way?
Well, I think what's happening is Joe's 80 years old now, and he'd like to see, look, he'd like to see another Super Bowl trophy before he leaves the earth. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it's starting to get to him too now. Enough is enough already,
So what do you think the answer is? Do you think there's a fix this year?
I think they need to bring back a veteran guy in here. I think that has to happen. I think that if they don't do that they stay with this kid, the season is just going to spiral out of control. You're looking at a 3 or 4 win team. Let's be honest. You're looking at 1-5 going to the bye. They got the Chiefs this week. Maybe they can beat the Broncos in Denver. Who knows? Look, I know they got hammered 70 points by Miami, but who knows about that? And then they play the Eagles. What, are you kidding me? You think they're beating the Eagles? The Eagles are gonna kill them. So you're looking at the best 1-5, maybe 2-4 going into the bye before they play the Giants. Where are we going here? Where are we going?
I agree. The podcast is Oh the Pain, and then you can listen to Joe. Are we still going to be able to hear you every day after Jets games? How's that going with Tiki?
No, yeah, we had a little whatever you want to call it yesterday. Maybe it was, I have to say, probably was a little bit of a cheap shot by me what I said to him, but what are you going to do? No, I'll be there at 4:00 on Monday. I'm sure they got a lot of publicity out of it. I'm sure they're very happy about it on WFAN what went down because it's all over the place. So 4:00 on days after Jet games with Evan and Tiki. As far as I know, is continuing. So I'm sure it's going to be a rip roarer on Monday. You know what I mean?
Have you spoken to Tiki since? Did you call him?
I reached out to him. I have not. I texted him. He didn't get back to me. Look, I'm sure he's upset. What can I tell you? It is what it is.
Well, we might get Joe and Evan every Monday.
Let me say this. Tiki will be there. He's got to be there. That looks bad if he's not there. Come on. Right, Bilal? You got to be. You can't not be there.
Now, Joe, I want to talk about one thing, man. And I think it was a highlight, and we discussed it last week. I discussed it last week. The sideline. You saw the reactions from a few players.
Garrett Wilson, Michael Carter. Yep.
That was something I was afraid of. And I understand. I think I understand where Michael Carter is coming from. But I've been in that situation where they got 2 guys in front of you and you think you can play ball. I get it. But, what do you think as a fan? You don't want to see that, right? Not this early, right?
Do I want to see this guy? Do I want to see the team fracture now? Let's be real. And how long, if this continues on the offense, how long does it before the defense says, we're out here busting our ass, and we're getting nothing on the other side of the ball, right? I can understand that from the defensive standpoint, right or wrong.
They brought him back in the game, the defense, right? They brought the energy back. How many times late in the game, all of a sudden the crowd's back on their feet because of what the defense was doing.
Yeah, no, they kept them in the game. They gave him multiple shots to win this game at the end. And I tell you, it's funny to me. The best ball he threw all day was the Hail Mary that he got it into the end zone.
Yeah,
and it would have been nice if Randall Cobb caught the freak. Really, it hit him in the hands, Bilal. Come on, we never make that play, Bilal. We never make that play.
Yeah, if that was Rodgers throwing the ball, Randall's catching it.
Yeah, he probably would have. Right? You know what? You're probably right. If Rodgers threw the ball, Cobb probably would have caught. You're right. You're right by that.
Yeah,
you're right.
That's what happens with us. That's how it goes. You've seen this for 50 years. That's why the podcast name is appropriate. Oh, the pain, huh?
Yep. Yeah. Just think that when they don't win this year, which they won't, it'll be 55 years since I tell this to people, and this really sums it up to me, Bilal. I was 15 years old when we won the Super Bowl. I'm 70 today, and we haven't even been back. Think about that. That's crazy, man.
But Joe, we haven't even been in the playoffs.
I know. Since 2011, 2010. 2010.
Let alone talking about a Super Bowl.
Right.
We need to try to smell the playoffs first. And right now it does not look promising, man.
No.
You have to be honest with yourself. Even as a former player, as a lifelong fan, you have to be honest. This is ugly football right now.
Terrible. No other way to say it. Terrible. I mean,
it's hard to watch.
It is. It's very hard to watch. And let's be honest, the fan base, look, the team deserves better. The fan base certainly deserves better. We've been through the war. Not even, you talk about the playoffs, Bilal. We haven't had a winning season since that 2015 year. That's 8 years ago now. We haven't had a winning season. Come on. Really? Unbelievable.
Well, I hope
That's unbelievable.
It's good that you have the open communication with the coach, because I know you're authentic. I know you're probably you're saying the same thing to us that you're saying to him. So I hope he knows that.
Look, I think the coach knows where I'm coming from. I think in a lot of ways, like I said, I think as far as the quarterback's concerned, I think that he'd like to make a move at quarterback that they're not letting him. I think that. And that's why I think Woody Johnson has to get involved and say to Douglas, look, we got to bring a veteran here and we got to do it now. I mean, how many more losses are we going to have to deal with this kid before we do something, right?
And it's the same as last year. It's the build from last year.
Even putting this guy Boyle in the game in the second half. Why didn't they do that? I mean, I don't know if he's any good, but let's see something. Give me something to try to spark something.
I think he'll bring spark.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Why not?
I mean, you needed that spark. I mean, you were still in the game.
Yeah, of course.
So I think you need that spark. You need some kind of spark.
Watch them make a change on Sunday night when they're down 40-0 against Kansas City.
Yeah,
that's when they're going to make a change.
Well, let me tell you,
that's where we needed to be all along, right?
Look, if they're down 40-0, man, it's going to be a ugly scene at MetLife on Sunday night. I could tell you right now.
There's not going to be any fans there anyway.
Well, yeah, be a lot of Chiefs fans there.
Yeah, they're going to see Taylor
Chiefs
Swift.
Fans and Taylor Swift. She'll be there, like we said.
Exactly. Maybe I should go to the game to go see Taylor Swift. It's cheaper. It's cheaper to go see Taylor Swift at the Jet game than it is to see her in concert.
Yeah.
It is, right?
It 100% is. All right. We appreciate you doing this, Joe. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you. All right.
Happy birthday,
anytime,
Joe.
guys. And let me just say this too again to Bilal. I want to thank you as a forever Jet fan. I want to thank you for your service. You were always a stellar Jet, and we appreciate that.
I appreciate it. And happy birthday to you, man.
Thank you, bro.
Happy birthday.
Much love. Take care, guys.
Thank you so much to Joe B for joining us on the show. Appreciate it. That was awesome. A great conversation with Joe. So we appreciate you doing that. We're going to wrap it up because we have another episode coming up on Thursday. We're going to preview the Chiefs game as if we didn't talk about it enough, but 0-15 against the Patriots. We have to just wrap up that game. Let's get rid of Patriots week because guess what? In a few weeks from now, we're going to be talking about it again. We've lost 15 in a row against the Patriots, but this is going to be the week we beat them, right? That's what we're going to be saying later this year. I'm sure of it. I can't wait to be doing that a few weeks from now. So Bilal, before we go, do you have a player of the game from the Jets, Patriots, either side? We haven't been good about keeping up with this because the team's been awful. Who's your player of the game?
It's not a player. It's a coach. You have to go with Bill Belichick. With a Patriot team like this, they're not good, and he found a way to beat a good defense. Listen, I mean, you just have to take your hat off to that guy. Like that was a good defense with a mediocre Patriots team, and they found a way to put up points. They found a way to pull away with the victory. So I have to go with Bill Belichick, who is now 5-0 with Zach Wilson under center. So I have to go with Bill Belichick.
All right, I'm going to go a similar direction, equally depressing, but a different direction than Bilal went. I'm going to go with a player on the Jets. Thomas Morstead, the punter, was the best player of the game for the Jets on the field. In fact, during the broadcast on CBS, Jim Nantz and Phil Simms were talking about how this guy's been really good. Bill Belichick always says, I never want to go against Morstead. He's the best player on the field. Well, on Sunday, that was the case. Even the free kick at the end of the game when the Jets take the safety, he has the free punt at the end of the game. He pins them back. He pins the Patriots back all the way to the 15, like gave the Jets an actual chance to go and win the game. Unfortunately, the quarterback couldn't do anything about it, but Thomas Morstead was fantastic in this game. So he is, unfortunately, my player of the game for the Jets. Shout out Morstead. Also, neither of us picked, Nick Bolden, who scored the touchdown. Neither of us picked that. We didn't see that coming. The fullback scoring the touchdown. So congrats to him also. As far as our picks for the game, we actually both picked against the Jets. We picked the Patriots. So we did get that right. So I improved to 2-1 on the season. Bilal improves to 1-1 on the season on his picks so far. So we'll keep picking the games. That's what's going to be coming up on next episode. On Thursday, we'll pick the game against the Chiefs. We'll preview that game. What else you got, Bilal?
Nothing. Let's see if we can figure it out this week.
Let's save the season. Hey, if they don't beat the Chiefs, then at least they have a chance against Denver, because I do want to talk about this on next episode. This is a long episode already, but next episode we should definitely talk about Miami. As if it wasn't bad enough that the Jets are bad, Miami's really good. And they put up 70 points, including a touchdown from Mike White, a former Jet, to Robbie Anderson, a former Jet. So if it couldn't get worse for Jet fans, that happened on Sunday for Miami as they put up 70 points against the Denver Broncos. So maybe the Jets have a chance against Denver and Sean Payton coming up in a couple of weeks. But on next episode, we'll talk about all that. We'll obviously talk about the Chiefs game. I wish circumstances were better. Maybe by Thursday, we're talking about a different quarterback. I don't know. Maybe there's a change. Maybe they were waiting for last night for Matthew Stafford's game to end, and now they're going to trade for him. Who knows? But until then, until next time, I'll see you, Bilal, all right?
All right, man.
See ya.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.